Integumentary Structure and Function lecture. The objectives of this lecture are to go over the structure of the integumentary system and the types of membranes present. We will also describe the structure and the function of the epidermis and dermis, and then we will also talk about accessory organs to the integumentary system. Anatomy and physiology of the skin. The skin is an example of a cutaneous membrane and is the largest organ of the body. Some of the functions of the skin are: the skin is the first line of defense. It protects the body against invading organisms. It also provides a sense of touch, such as heat, cold, and pain. It helps stabilize temperature, fluid, and electrolyte balance, and it also synthesizes vitamin D for sunlight. There are three main layers of the skin. There is the epidermis, dermis, and subcutaneous layers. The skin, the first layer is the epidermis, which is the outer layer, and it has 5 layers. The cells of this layer are called stratified squamous epithelial cells. Most of these cells are keratinocytes and melanocytes. Melanocytes contain melatonin, which give our skin its coloring and pigment. The dermis is the deeper layer just below the epidermis and consists of the connective tissue in a variety of cell shapes. It also has blood vessels and nerves. The subcutaneous layer, which is just below the dermis layer, contains blood vessels and fat cells to protect us against the cold. Embedded in the dermis and extending into the epidermis are the sebaceous, apocrine, and eccrine sweat glands. The sebaceous glands produce oil called sebum. The apocrine are located in areas of the axilla or armpit, breast, umbilicus, anus, and genital areas. This gland is the gland that causes our odor and is caused by a contamination and decomposition of the secretion by the skin bacteria, which are considered normal flora. The apocrine glands typically enlarge during puberty, which then causes this to happen. The eccrine are found throughout the body and help us regulate heat. These are throughout our lifetime. Hair follicles are in the dermal layer and extend into the epidermis. Here's a picture of the integumentary anatomy. It is important to note the epidermis, which is the closest to the skin surface. Just below we have the dermis, and then we have the subcutaneous layers. As you can see, the hair shaft is in both of the epidermis and the dermis, and then the hair follicle or root is in the sebaceous and dermal layers. Common signs and symptoms of disease in the integumentary system are skin lesions, inflammation, which consists of pain, edema, erythema, and heat, pruritus, which is also called itching, and color alterations. The skin colors: pink flushing indicates increased blood volume or increased blood oxygen to that area. Cyanosis is a bluish gray color and indicates a decrease in blood oxygen levels. Vitiligo is a patchy light skin areas resulting from an acquired loss of the epidermal melanocytes. Jaundice is yellowing of the skin, usually caused by liver dysfunction. Albinism is an absence of any skin pigment. Hyperpigmentation usually consists of darker pigments in a given area and can be seen throughout the body and are usually caused by hormonal changes, most commonly present in pregnant women. Ephilus, or freckles, they're also called, are small flat macules and are common in normal skin pigmentation. There are variations depending on populations. And the nevus, which is also called a mole, is due to the collection of melanocytes in one area. So here are some pictures. We have some erythema here or pink flushing that you can see. It could be called either one. We'll call it pink flushing since it's on the face, but erythema is one of the markers for inflammation. Jaundice as a yellow baby, oftentimes this does happen at birth, and those babies are generally put under Billy lights and takes care of the jaundice. Sometimes you'll see a yellowing in the skin, or you will see some yellowing in the sclera of the eye. The next picture on the lower left-hand corner is a picture of cyanosis, where in the fingers where there might not be enough oxygenated blood reaching them, commonly seen in patients with COPD or heart disease. The next picture in the lower right-hand corner is a picture of vitiligo, which is the patches of light skin due to areas not having enough melanocytes or have lost their melanocytes. On our next slide here on the left, we have a picture of hyperpigmentation, or example of hyperpigmentation that can happen due to hormonal changes. And then we have some freckles on the right. Skin lesions. Any measurable variation from the normal structure of the skin is considered a skin lesion. There are elevated lesions, and then there are also flat lesions. Elevated lesions cast a shadow on the outsides of their edges. A papule is considered a small, firm, raised lesion. A plaque is a large, raised lesion. A vesicle is a serous-filled lesion less than 1 millimeter. We also call these blisters. Bulas are serous-filled lesions which are greater than 1 millimeter wide. Pustules are pus-filled lesions. Cysts are semi-solid protrusions with a hollow cavity. Nodules are solid masses greater than 1 centimeter. Crusts are often considered scabs. Scales are white or silvery flakes that can happen, oftentimes seen in patients with psoriasis. Wheals or hives are raised, firm lesions with a light center. Some flat lesions are macules that are small discolorations of the skin. Some examples might be birthmarks, moles, or freckles. Usually these have no rays in their structure. And then patches, which are large areas of discoloration. Sometimes moles can be very large and not small. Usually your macules are less than 1 to 3 millimeters. Otherwise they are considered patches. Our next slide gives you an idea of what each of these look like. We have bulas, macules, nodules, patches. Usually patches are greater than 1 centimeter. Papules, plaques, pustules, vesicles, wheals, scales, crusts, and then we also have fissures, which we will talk more about in skin injuries lecture. Appendages of the skin. An appendage of the skin is considered hair. Soft hair of the fetus and newborn is called lanego, and the hair growth requires epidermal tube-like structures called hair follicles. Hair growth begins from the hair papilla, and most areas of the body do have hair of some sort, but there are some body parts that are hairless, which consists of the lips, palms of the hands, and soles of the feet. The hair root lies hidden in the follicle. The visible part of the hair is called the shaft, even though the shaft does go into the epidermis layers. Alopecia is considered hair loss. Hirsutism is the excessive growth of hair, and then erector papillae are specialized smooth muscles that produce goosebumps and cause the hair to stand straight up. These are typically seen when a person is cold. And as you can see here, another picture of the skin and the hair follicle. So the hair shaft above the skin and into the epidermis, and then we start to see the root of the hair follicle in the dermis layer. Picture of alopecia on the left. On the top right, you have hirsutism, and then we have goosebumps on the bottom right. Nails are produced by the epidermal cells over the terminal end of the finger or toe. The visible part of the nail is called the nail body. Roots lie in grooves and are hidden by cuticles. And the crescent-shaped area nearest to the root is called the lunula. Nail bed may change colors with a change in the blood flow. Sometimes a nail can turn white, yellowish, or bluish color. Picture of the nail showing the nail root, the cuticle, the nail body itself, and then the nail bed just below the nail. Nails, normal variation in nail structure, so sometimes there will be longitudinal ridges in light-skinned individuals or pigmented bands in dark-skinned individuals. Sometimes there will be really dark ridges in nails, which would be an abnormality and is usually due to vitamin deficiency. A lot of times patients with anemia have those large, deep grooves in their nails. Other abnormal variations are onycholysis, which is the separation of the nail from the nail bed, or pitting, which is common in patients with psoriasis. Here are some pictures of onycholysis where the nail separates from the nail bed, as you can see here on the left. And then on the right we have an example of nail pitting, where you can see the small indentations in a circular way. These are most common in psoriasis.